You've been presented with a version of reality that you were never meant to question, that God is an enigma, the universe is a random occurrence, and Jesus was merely a man who sacrificed himself to redeem your wrongdoings. End of story. But what if all of this is incorrect? What if the narrative you've accepted is just a superficial glimpse into something far more profound, intricate, and intentional? There exists a book that is seldom talked about, often dismissed, yet hiding in plain sight, proclaiming to unveil the genuine essence of existence, crafted not by human hands, but dictated by higher consciousnesses. It's known as the Urantia Book. And if its assertions hold true, then everything, from your views on divinity to the framework of the cosmos and the very purpose of your soul, has been misconstrued. This isn't merely another spiritual manuscript. It serves as a challenge to every belief system that ever urged you to stop questioning. Its origin wasn't in a temple or laboratory. It began in a tranquil room in Chicago during the 1920s, where a reputable psychiatrist, Dr. William Sadler, was summoned to investigate a peculiar case. A man, whose identity remains undisclosed, had begun speaking while he slept, yet this was no ordinary sleep-talking. It was something entirely different. During these episodes, he would deliver lengthy, intricate discourses on subjects like science, philosophy, cosmology, and the divine. The vocabulary was sophisticated, the concepts coherent, layered, and profound, far exceeding the man's usual intellectual abilities. Sadler, who had dedicated years to exposing spiritualist frauds, approached it with skepticism. However, the deeper he delved, the more he became convinced that something unprecedented was transpiring. Eventually, he and a group of scholars established what would become known as the Forum. They meticulously documented these sessions, compiling thousands of pages over 2 decades. The outcome was the Urantia Book, a document unlike any other, one that asserts it is not inspired by higher beings, but directly authored by them. The book makes no effort to indulge the ego or align with established belief systems. It straightforwardly asserts humanity is prepared to embrace higher knowledge, and this transmission is being conveyed by celestial beings to close the divide between primitive religion, disjointed science, and skewed theology. It presents a comprehensive cosmology, reinterprets Jesus, and provides a framework for the soul's evolution. Yet, in spite of the grandeur of its assertions, the book was not actively promoted. It wasn't marketed with fervor often seen in evangelical movements, nor was it affiliated with any particular church. Instead, it quietly emerged in 1955 from the Urantia Foundation, lacking an author's name, a central figurehead, and any expectation of financial support or loyalty. This alone should prompt reflection. In a landscape where authority is frequently associated with identity, here lies a book that simply asks to be studied rather than believed or accepted. So, why is it that you haven't come across it? Why isn't it part of theological curricula, discussed among spiritual circles, or analyzed in general conversation? Perhaps the reason is that the Urantia Book doesn't conform to any established categorization. It's neither a religious doctrine nor a scientific hypothesis. Rather, it directly confronts both. It doesn't dictate what you should accept, but suggests that you've been adhering to an incomplete narrative. And that perhaps, just perhaps, the truth has been concealed, not due to its perilous nature, but largely because of its liberating potential. Some revelations within this book are too provocative to share overtly here. That's why we've established Insights Academy, our complimentary newsletter, designed to convey perspectives that can't be openly discussed on platforms such as this. By signing up through the link in the description, you'll receive a free copy of the Kabbalion, but only for a limited period. This book doesn't ask you to follow, it urges you to awaken. It communicates in the language of order, design, and purpose, portraying a universe that is anything but random, but rather profoundly organized. A vibrant cosmos teeming with intelligence and structure, where every entity, including you, is on a path of evolution. It refrains from depicting humanity as fallen. Rather, it sees us as a work in progress. Instead of venerating mystery, it seeks to chart it. What began as a dreamlike experience evolved into a literary puzzle. Yet, if any of its assertions hold even a morsel of truth, then it presents itself not merely as a text. It serves as a cosmic message, intentionally sent at a time when humankind is prepared to receive it. According to the book, that time is now. You've been conditioned to view the universe as a vast, cold expanse, an infinite stretch of stars and galaxies dictated by randomness, mathematics, and little else. That's the prevailing story. Science posits that everything originated with a colossal explosion, after which chaos gradually conformed into order. Meanwhile, religion tends to bypass the intricacies, jumping straight to the conclusion that God did it. But what if both perspectives overlook a more profound truth? What if the universe wasn't merely created, but meticulously designed? The Urantia Book suggests that the cosmos is not an indifferent emptiness. Rather, it is a living, dynamic system, an elaborate and hierarchical creation made with purpose. And Earth? It's not the focal point of it all. It isn't even remarkable. It represents just one of countless worlds amidst billions, situated in a universe of unimaginable complexity and structure. The book lays out a framework so expansive and intricate that it challenges conventional understanding. At its heart is Havona, the central and flawless universe, eternal and immutable, home to the universal Father and the origin of all existence. Encircling Havona are 7 super-universes, each made up of billions of inhabited planets. We reside in one of them, Orventon. Within Orventon lies the Milky Way, and within that stellar spiral is our solar system. Our planet, Urantia, stands as merely one of the myriad evolutionary worlds within this grand cosmic schema. However, this is not mere science fiction. The book assigns names, roles, and meanings to every stratum. It discusses the ancients of days, entities of unfathomable wisdom governing the super-universes of creator sons, such as Michael of Nebadon, who is more commonly recognized as Jesus. These beings oversee the creation and management of local universes. They should not be seen as mere metaphors or allegories. They are depicted as actual entities within a genuine structure that remains hidden from us solely because our spiritual perception is not fully developed. This structure is not chaotic. It functions under divine administration, complete with laws, organization, and a progressive growth system. Planets advance, souls strive upward, and civilizations ascend towards enlightenment. There exist trillions of beings far beyond our understanding, not in terms of technology, but in their consciousness. While we pursue material gains, they direct their attention on spiritual evolution. Within this framework, Earth is still in its early stages, chaotic and searching for its place, yet it is part of something much grander. It always has been. This concept directly challenges the narrative of random evolution or simplistic theology. If even a portion of the Urantia Book holds truth, then the universe resembles a learning environment rather than a battleground, an organized classroom where souls navigate experiences, absorb lessons, and gradually evolve towards perfection. While this may seem idealistic, doesn't a part of you already suspect it to be true? Haven't you always sensed that life encompasses more than mere survival? That perhaps, just perhaps, there's a purpose behind certain enduring concepts such as the soul, the afterlife, ascension, and angels. What if these notions are not mere fantasies, but rather distorted recollections of something authentic? The Urantia book offers more than lyrical prose. It presents a framework, a blueprint of existence. It contextualizes your existence, placing you on the map of something extraordinarily vast and beautiful, rendering your everyday concerns almost insignificant. However, this does not imply your life lacks significance. Rather, it suggests your life is a part of a system far too expansive for you to grasp in its entirety at once. You've been told that the universe is emotionless, detached, and devoid of meaning. What if, instead, it is vibrant, sentient, and eagerly waiting for you to align with its flow? What if you aren't merely a mistake, but rather an integral part of the most intricate system ever imagined? If you've pondered why the world feels disjointed, why history is plagued by pain, confusion, and strife, the Urantia book presents an explanation that is both shocking and deep. It doesn't attribute humanity's turmoil to original sin, nor does it portray us simply as a violent species by nature. Instead, it brings attention to a concept that many religions only suggest, and that most scientists wouldn't dare to approach: a cosmic upheaval. The book reveals that Earth, referred to in celestial terms as Urantia, was not always isolated. We were once part of a grander spiritual network, an expansive interplanetary system where divine direction and cosmic harmony flowed without hindrance. This changed due to the actions of one being, Lucifer. Not the fantastical devil characterized by horns and hellfire, but a genuine entity, a manager of our local system who, hundreds of millennia ago, sparked a rebellion against the divine order. His argument was that intelligent beings did not require the supervision of a universal deity, and that self-governance should take precedence over divine authority. This was not a physical warfare, but a clash of ideas. Lucifer's manifesto advocated for self-assertion rather than spiritual alignment, and many celestial beings rallied behind him. Earth became one of the planets ensnared in this ideological insurgence. Consequently, we were severed off, quarantined, and spiritually estranged from the larger universe. This separation wasn't a punishment, it was containment. To halt the rebellion's spread, affected worlds were disconnected from higher circuits. Earth was transformed into a spiritual island, left to navigate its path without the complete support of divine governance. If you've ever pondered why so many of our prophets, sages, and visionaries mention the world's darkness, this is the explanation. It's not due to divine abandonment. Rather, we were placed in isolation to prevent the spread of corruption. We weren't exiled, rather we were safeguarded from ourselves until we could see clearly once more. Here's the crucial aspect that should make you pause. Most faiths resonate with this narrative, often without realizing it. The fall of man, our exile from Eden, the angel cast from heaven, these are all remnants, echoes of a larger story. Yet, as time has passed, these fragments have been twisted into tales of guilt, shame, and damnation. Instead of fostering personal growth, they instilled fear. They explained the broken connection, leading you to believe you were inherently flawed, and therein lies the tragedy. We have been raised on pieces of a story that should have empowered us rather than condemned us. The Urantia book reinterprets this ancient cosmic schism not as a perpetual curse but as a temporary disruption. It conveys that the rebellion is drawing to a close, that the circuits are gradually reconnecting, and that Earth is reuniting with the broader spiritual family it once belonged to. The chaos you observe around you isn't everlasting. It represents the birthing pains of a planet awakening from a prolonged slumber in darkness. However, awakening is challenging. It requires letting go of all you believed was normal. It means understanding that the systems governing this world, our politics, ideologies, and even religions, were developed under the shadow of isolation. They adapted without access to the full illumination. They did what they could with their limited resources, but now the light is making its return. You were never born into a doomed world. You were born into one in recovery, a planet undergoing transformation. And your presence here is no coincidence. According to the Urantia Book, souls are placed with deliberate precision. You are not here as a consequence of punishment, but to actively participate. Your purpose is to aid in healing what has been broken. Yet, you cannot embrace that perspective while clinging to the old narrative. It's essential to view it in its true light, not as a fall from grace, but rather as a diversion in evolution. It's a detour that we are finally prepared to amend. For many, the tale of Jesus starts in a humble stable and concludes on a cross. The journey in between is shaped by a limited number of gospels, processed through ages of religious interpretation and institutional objectives. You were taught that Jesus was God's Son who came to atone for your sins, a divine offering to appease an angry God. But what if that interpretation merely scratches the surface? What if the essence is not that he came to die, but instead that he came to truly live and to embody and demonstrate the divine potential present within every one of us? According to the Urantia Book, Jesus was more than a spiritual teacher or enlightened prophet. He was Michael of Nebadon, a creator son, a divine entity charged with the creation and management of entire universes. These creator sons are born from the universal Father and the eternal Son, each one responsible for establishing and overseeing local universes filled with billions of inhabited worlds. Our universe Nebadon is one of these realms, and it was on Earth, Urantia, that Michael Jesus chose to undertake his seventh and final bestowal. This act symbolized his union with his own creation. Let that notion resonate. Jesus didn't arrive here as a traditional savior. He didn't descend to provide blood as a form of payment. He took on human form to genuinely comprehend his creation, to experience life as we do, to walk in our shoes, face our limitations, and illustrate what a life entirely aligned with divine intent looks like. His purpose wasn't to establish a new religion, but to exemplify the journey of spiritual growth. His life stands as a model, not as an exception. The insights the Urantia Book shares about his existence extend far beyond the fragments contained in the Bible, offering a comprehensive narrative of his early years, adolescence, and the years that are often considered lost. Those years that separate the temple from the Jordan are often overlooked in the scriptures. They speak of his journeys, his learning, and his interactions with various cultures and philosophies. This narrative illustrates a man who was not merely idly waiting for his public ministry, but actively preparing, questioning, integrating, and evolving. He encountered genuine struggles. He experienced doubt, he shed tears, and he grappled with his purpose, not out of weakness but due to his complete humanity paired with his divine nature. This duality is what renders his journey significant. He wasn't merely acting human, he truly was human. By living among us, he didn't simply fulfill an abstract cosmic need, he earned the privilege to lead with perfect empathy. He transformed into not just a ruler, but a brother, a companion, an exemplar. His death wasn't a necessity from the cosmos. It was a devastating product of ignorance and fear. The crucifixion wasn't God's demand, it was humanity's choice. Yet even amid that atmosphere of brutality and misunderstanding, he forgave. He transcended revenge. He embodied love. If you've ever felt that the traditional institutional portrayal of Jesus leaves too many questions unresolved, like why his teachings leaned more towards the kingdom within rather than external rituals, or why his message centered around transformation instead of transaction, it might be because the profound truth has been obscured by dogma. The Urantia Book doesn't seek to urge you to worship Jesus. It invites you to gain insight into him, not as a distant figure trapped in stained glass, but as an individual who walked this earth for the same reasons you do: to grow, to serve, to remember. It repositions Jesus as not merely a unique anomaly of human potential, but rather as its highest manifestation. Thus, it reshapes the narrative. His mission wasn't to instill feelings of unworthiness within you. It was to unveil what is attainable, not for idolization, but for emulation. Not through blind compliance, but through conscious realization. If the assertions of this book hold truth, then Jesus didn't arrive solely to save you. He arrived to reveal how to rescue yourself. There's a subtle deception lurking beneath contemporary existence. The concept that you are fundamentally flawed, born defective, and require external intervention to be repaired. Religion presents this notion as original sin, while culture frames it as deficiency. The system peddles salvation in terms of status, image, and ceaseless accomplishments. Yet despite all these external assurances of value, something crucial feels unfulfilled. That void within you isn't due to being broken. It stems from a severed connection to something essential. Not something you must discover, but something you need to recall. The Urantia Book asserts that within each person lies a fragment of divine essence. It's not merely a metaphor or an emblem, it's genuine. This divine spark is referred to as the thought adjuster. It acts as your most genuine guide, the part of God that resides within you, continually whispering, not in words, but in insights, moral awareness, and gentle guidance. Its purpose isn't to dominate you, it seeks to guide, always honoring your autonomy. That represents the paradox of divine love. It doesn't coerce, it only invites. You have likely sensed it during those tranquil moments when a deeper truth surfaces amid the clamor. Those gentle nudges encouraging you to take the tougher, yet more authentic route. The soft yet persistent realization that you are destined for greater than mere routine or survival, more than the distractions that occupy most of your existence. That sensation isn't an illusion. It's an interaction, a quiet, relentless call to awaken. The thought adjuster is your divine legacy. You didn't earn it. You didn't ask for it. It was placed within you as evidence that you are not disconnected from God. You are an extension of the divine, a developing being on a journey of inward exploration that ultimately leads back to the source. This is not a matter of faith, it's about connection. The thought adjuster doesn't seek adoration. It yearns for collaboration. It doesn't insist on rituals or accolades. It simply remains there, waiting for you to pay attention. However, here's the catch. The environment around you is engineered to overshadow it. Continuous stimulation, relentless noise, fabricated desires. These aren't merely diversions, they serve as obstacles. The more you hand over your sense of value to external sources, the tougher it becomes to hear your own inner voice. The thought adjuster resonates most clearly in stillness, integrity, and genuine self-examination. It can't be purchased or deciphered by someone else. Its counsel is individual, straightforward, and untainted. The Urantia Book proposes that the true journey of transformation is not solely through religion or philosophy, but through a conscious collaboration with this inner fragment. Ethical choices, intellectual refinement, acts of love and service, these are the avenues through which your spirit evolves. Each decision represents a choice for unity or division. Every moment is another progression in a journey of cosmic significance. You were never meant to be a sinner crawling towards grace. You were designed to be a soul awakening to its roots. The divine essence isn't someone above you, judging your worth. It's within you, just waiting to be acknowledged. Your spiritual advancement does not commence with faith in an external savior. It begins with confidence in the quiet force that is already a part of your core. You are not damaged. Rather, you are unfinished. This isn't a flaw, it's a chance. Being incomplete signifies that you're still evolving, still developing, still being invited. And as soon as you start to heed that inner voice, the one that's been patiently waiting, softly whispering, gently guiding, you'll no longer require anyone to dictate what to believe. You'll possess an understanding not because someone taught you, but because your spirit recalled what it has always known to be true. If the Urantia Book reveals such a comprehensive and intricate understanding of the cosmos, reframes Jesus' life in incredible detail, claims authorship by celestial intellects, and addresses queries that have perplexed humanity for ages, then why hasn't anyone shared it with you? Why isn't it a topic of discussion in academia? Why isn't it scrutinized in religious institutions or analyzed by intellectuals and theologians? How can something of such magnitude remain largely unrecognized? The solution is both straightforward and disconcerting. This book does more than unveil new insights. It makes traditional frameworks irrelevant. It refuses to conform to any pre-existing classification. It doesn't compel you to join a religious institution, tithe a portion, participate in a ritual, or submit to any hierarchy. It challenges all of that. The Urantia Book lacks clergy, dogma, and the expectation of unquestioning loyalty. It presents knowledge free from control, wisdom without indoctrination, which poses a threat to systems based on authority and dependence. In a reality where information is commodified, regulated, and weaponized, where attention is currency, and concepts that empower individuals are often diluted or suppressed, this poses a significant risk. Religious bodies, political entities, and even the scientific community rely on a shared consensus of reality. They exist because most individuals agree to perceive the world within a restricted, manageable framework. The Urantia Book disrupts that consensus. It doesn't seek to blend in. Rather, it questions the bedrock of theology, redefines the cosmic landscape, and dismisses the notion that anyone must mediate your connection with the divine. Organized religion is at a loss with it. It doesn't fit within the confines of established doctrine, nor does it reinforce feelings of guilt, sin, or ritualistic practices. It calls not for worship, but for comprehension. It doesn't make you feel insignificant to sell you redemption. It asserts that the divine has always existed within you. Such a message dismantles centuries of control. It shatters the illusion. Those who benefit from this illusion prefer that you never encounter the book. Academia actively skirts it as well. Acknowledging that the Urantia Book warrants serious examination implies opening pathways that many institutions dread to explore. Its concepts do not align with the vernacular of conventional science or theology. Instead of exploring its merits, many choose to dismiss it, categorize it as pseudoscience, and tuck it away as a mere curiosity, not because it has been debunked, but due to an inability to fully comprehend it. The irony is striking. Had it been penned by a human author, backed by a publishing company, and a financial incentive, it could have easily infiltrated mainstream culture. But that's not the case. It surfaced quietly, lacking a promotional campaign or a charismatic figure, simply presenting itself as a text, a message, a navigational tool. As a result, it's remained obscured in plain sight for close to 70 years, yet books don't disappear due to insignificance. They vanish because they pose a challenge. The Urantia Book isn't merely a nuisance, it's revolutionary. It doesn't compel belief, it urges you to think critically, to question, to unlearn. In a world crafted to keep you spiritually dulled and intellectually restrained, that concept turns it into a potent force. It's not surprising that this book hasn't gone mainstream. People fear not just being incorrect, they're terrified of having to reconstruct everything they thought they understood. Engaging with this book is not just a cerebral activity, it's a confrontation, a subtle insurgence against accepted beliefs. It pushes you to look deeper and wonder, what else have I taken at face value? Perhaps you've sensed it, a lingering feeling that the explanations you've received don't fully satisfy. That something profound lies just beyond your grasp. The Urantia Book doesn't guarantee simple solutions, but it does present a new perspective. One that illuminates a universe rich with intention, a cosmos alive with design, a God who isn't demanding your allegiance but inviting you into partnership, and a life that isn't happenstance but intricately woven into a tapestry so expansive that you've only glimpsed a fragment of it. From your first breath, everything surrounding you, culture, education, religion, has conditioned you to believe that this world is your singular opportunity. That the earth is both your genesis and your end point, that what truly matters is confined to your experiences here, what you accumulate, what belongs to you, how you are remembered. What if this world isn't truly your home? What if Earth is merely the initial classroom in a much more extensive learning journey? The Urantia Book suggests that your life in this realm is just the starting point of a soul's odyssey that traverses numerous worlds, dimensions, and altogether different levels of existence. You are a work in progress, a soul on a journey. This planet was never intended to be your final destination. It's the launch pad. The text outlines a process of soul advancement that transforms everything you've been led to believe about what follows after death. It's not a simple choice between heaven and hell, nor a last judgment at some celestial gates, but rather a continuum of growth. Following this life, if your soul decides to persist, you will awaken not into emptiness, but on the mansion worlds, the subsequent phase of existence where your spiritual learning deepens. These realms are not mere figments of dreams for eternal repose. They are structured, tangible, and meaningful. Each level serves to ready you for the next, honing your consciousness, broadening your understanding, and drawing you nearer to divine insight. This is not reincarnation where you endlessly return to Earth to settle some nebulous karmic obligation. Instead, you progress. You develop purposefully, not haphazardly, through a curriculum crafted by the design of the cosmos. The objective isn't to achieve perfection in one lifetime, but to cultivate growth through various dimensions of existence. Throughout this journey, you are accompanied by spiritual beings who are there to support, not to judge, your unfolding potential. You are not alone. You are recognized, safeguarded, and guided. The religious traditions you were raised with seldom acknowledge this continuum of evolution. They often reduce existence to just this lifetime, offering salvation or damnation based on a solitary decision or belief. But this perspective is rooted in fear rather than truth. What sort of divine intelligence would conjure an entire universe merely to channel souls into reward or punishment after 80 years on one tiny planet? That's not fairness. It's control. The Urantia Book presents a much more vibrant narrative. It proposes that your spirit plays an active role in crafting its own path. Every choice you make, every act of bravery, every refusal to bow down to fear, reverberates beyond this existence. Your earthly life holds immense significance, but not in the manner you've been led to believe. It transcends mere success or adhering to societal norms. It's about discovering how to resonate with the divine essence within you. That's where the challenge lies. It's not about compliance or flawlessness, but rather about finding unity. This journey continues until you connect with the Universal Father, the origin of all existence. This may take ages, possibly spanning across galaxies, yet that is the journey ahead. You're not here to achieve perfection, you're here to initiate the process. The unease you sense in this realm, the longing for something greater, the unfamiliar yearning for a place you've never visited, these are not just shortcomings of your design. They are hints, remnants of memories, reverberations of a voyage that didn't start here and won't conclude here either. You were never destined to remain. You were meant to awaken, to evolve, to advance. This existence is merely a chapter, not the entire narrative. Once you grasp that, death ceases to be a conclusion. It transforms into a continuation, a transition into a higher dimension of reality, where the soul, now a bit wiser, keeps ascending. You're not simply an individual, you're a wanderer. And the journey ahead is not shrouded in darkness. It's conceived with purpose. There's a reason you're still engaged. It's not merely curiosity. It's a sense of recognition. Something within you is aware that what you've been taught is far from the complete picture. The frameworks that influenced your perception, education, religion, governance, media, were never designed to enlighten you. They were crafted to mold you. However, if you're still here, it's because an aspect of you has already begun to break free, something profound, something time-worn, a quiet fragment of your spirit that refuses to be confined by dogma or reduced to labels. That essence is truth, and it's awakening within you. The Urantia Book doesn't offer a new doctrine to adhere to. It provides you with the means to deconstruct the outdated structures from the inside out. It encourages you to rethink spirituality, existence, and what it means to be human. It doesn't direct you to a preacher, a sacred space, or a specific ritual. It directs you inward, to your conscience, your intuition, and your inner sense of direction. As soon as you begin to trust that internal guide, you become a threat to the established system. Not through violence or noise, but because you've learned to exist independently of it. You don't rely on others to define who God is. You need not have credentials to validate your inquisitiveness, nor do you require permission to delve into your own awareness. This kind of liberation doesn't conform to the confines of political ideals or religious doctrines. It can't be commodified or turned into profit, yet it is wholly yours. Living from this authentic space allows you not only to slip free from control, but also to become a reflection for others, revealing what is achievable. The systems that prevail in this world depend on your consent to limitations, to feelings of unworthiness, and to a sense of separation. When you renounce that agreement, the illusion begins to fracture. Their authority over you is not brute force, it's psychological. They can only imprison a mind that remains unaware of its freedom. But you're awakening to this reality. You're beginning to recall the truth. Once you recognize the barriers for what they are, mere narratives, mere conditioning, you can easily walk through them. The Urantia Book does not require unquestioning faith. It calls for analytical thinking. It encourages you to challenge its ideas, grapple with its principles, and explore its assertions. It does not insist on belief. It invites scrutiny. This is what makes it so formidable. It places your understanding of the truth in your own hands. It trusts that you're capable of independent thought. You do not have to agree with every concept within it. However, it is essential for your own growth to examine its contents. Because once you take that step, your perception of reality will be forever altered. You will come to understand that your potential has been undervalued by every system you've encountered, that your spirit was designed to flourish, not to submit, that your existence is not a coincidence. It's a strand in something immense, intelligent and sacred. You're not here by mere chance. You're not tuning in because you're unoccupied. You're here because a part of you is prepared to break free from the script, prepared to cease nodding in agreement and begin questioning. You are the evidence that the system cannot confine you, and the more you embody that reality, the more others will recognize it within themselves. That's how transformation occurs, not through noise, but through awakening. The Urantia Book doesn't arrive wrapped in prophecy or veiled in thunderous sounds. It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't demand your loyalty. It waits. It remains quiet, patient, almost too silent for a world hooked on noise. Perhaps that's why so many people never discover it. It doesn't come attached to a brand, a movement, or a charismatic figure. It merely exists in plain view, challenging you to engage with it and see how it affects your mind. And once you do, something peculiar occurs. You don't merely read the book begins to read you. It's not only the material that disturbs you, it's the sensation that it knows you're in search of something deeper. It doesn't aim to frighten you into belief or tempt you with rewards. It simply narrates a reality that is so remarkably vast, so meticulously organized, and so profoundly human that you start to question how you ever accepted anything less. It reconfigures your perceptions of life, death, purpose, identity, and time. It doesn't provide you with simple solutions. It presents you with the questions you were never permitted to pose. What if the universe isn't a battleground of spirits, but rather an academy for consciousness? What if you aren't a flawed being pleading for redemption, but an evolving soul encouraged to develop? What if Jesus wasn't sent to perish, but to live, to guide you home, not as a savior towering above you, but as a companion beside you? These are not mere theological adjustments. They are profound shifts. And once these transformations occur within you, the external world takes on a different appearance. You start to penetrate the deceptions, not only in matters of faith or governance, but also in your relationship with yourself. The shame that you've been conditioned to carry begins to feel like a facade. The guilt, the anxiety, the belief that you must earn your value or endure suffering for serenity all suddenly seem alien. Something ancient stirs within, something that does not seek approval from the outside. You aren't discovering the truth, you are recalling it. Whether you view the Urantia Book as a literal revelation or as an insightful piece of spiritual philosophy, the impact it has is unmistakable. It disrupts your status quo, disorients your perceptions, and then clarifies your understanding, not by dictating beliefs, but by provoking you to reassess the beliefs you've held up to this point. That's where the real empowerment resides. It isn't found in the book itself, but rather in what it ignites within you. You don't close the Urantia Book as the same individual who first opened it. You either shut it and revert to complacency, or you start to live differently, not out of defiance, but in harmony. Once you recognize that your existence is part of a divine design, that your thoughts resonate through eternity, and that your choices influence your soul's direction, there's no turning back. You're no longer here to fit in. You're here to grow, to experience, to awaken. This book does not culminate with a prophecy. It begins with a question, and now that question belongs to you. Is this merely a book, or is it a roadmap? You have gathered enough insight to realize you can't unlearn this. So the final query is whether you will dismiss it or delve into it. Don't wait for someone else to affirm what stirs within you. If you're still engaged, it's because you were intended to be. Now take action. The truth exists independently of your belief, yet your life won't truly commence until you cease waiting and begin seeking. And, if you haven't done so yet, consider enrolling in Insights Academy. We share insights that can't be expressed here, perspectives, and information you're unlikely to encounter elsewhere. When you register, you'll also receive a complimentary copy of the Kabbalion. If you're going to challenge the status quo, you'll need resources they never intended for you to possess. If this video resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments. I understood it.